Welcome in, Chargers fans. First video in a while. This is my second time recording as well. Tried this on Zoom. I was trying to take some shortcuts, see if I can streamline the editing process, but I'm going back to the old way because I know that this one works. But how have you guys been doing? It's been a couple months since my last video. I have been getting a handful of tweets from people asking me to make videos again. One of my 230 some subscribers, but it's been an interesting season. This video should be pretty quick. Just gonna run through a timeline in my eyes of the Chargers season, and then some key matchups, some things to look at for tonight's game. So what's on the line, and can the Chargers stop charging? TBD. TBD on that one. So season on a slide, week one, we had a killer offseason. As everybody knows, revenge game against the Raiders. All hope was alive and well. I mean, really probably had the most media hype of any team in the entire NFL. We played pretty decent week one. The Raiders were also supposed to be a pretty good team. As of week one, they were supposed to possibly be in the playoff discussion. As we know, that did not come true. Week two, turning point, Justin Herbert's injury and a loss to the Chiefs. This was sort of the start of me turning on Staley when Herbert was so clearly in horrible pain, could not play, shouldn't have played. Yes, he still made that crazy throw, but it's not worth risking your franchise quarterback. It could have been a broken rib. He could have punctured a lung by staying in. He could have done a lot more damage by staying in. And it's one game in week two. We should have pulled Herbert. And then week three, we played the Jags. We were down by 28 with like 4 or 6 minutes left or something. And we left Justin Herbert in the game. That is, I mean, Herbert so clearly was not 100%. Nowhere even near 100%. We got outcoached. Herbert wasn't healthy. We were down 28 points in the fourth quarter. Even if it's not a franchise quarterback, even if it's just your starting quarterback for a bad team, everybody knows that you take your starter out, you take a lot of your key players out when you're down 28 with 4 minutes left. You are not coming back. And rather than be a leader, be a coach, Brandon Staley chose to be a friend to Justin Herbert and say, hey, do you want to go back in to play with your teammates? Of course, Justin said yes. Brandon Staley let him. Risked another injury in the last 4 minutes of a game over literally nothing. The game was out of reach against the Jags. And that's when I officially turned on Brandon Staley, said, I don't care if we win a Super Bowl. I want him gone. Stand by that to this day. I hope that we do win the Super Bowl. I also hope that we fire Brandon Staley. We need a coach. We need a leader. We need a Mike Tomlin, a Bill Belichick, somebody who, yeah, you can still relate to the players, be friends with them, but when it comes time to coach, you need to be a leader of men. That is not what Brandon Staley is. Brandon Staley is a child, a friend, and when push comes to shove, you need to do what is best for the team, even if that means saying, no, you're on the bench, Justin. And Brandon Staley couldn't do that. Sort of an emotional turn off for me at that point during the season, sort of disconnected, still watched every single game, but I mean, the future of the franchise is Justin Herbert. It's not Brandon Staley. It's not Joe Lombardi. I hope that they're gone. There is still obviously hope for the Chargers, but I was slightly less invested and I wasn't completely bought in. because if you're completely bought in, I want to buy into the scheme. I want to buy into the culture. I want to buy into the coaches, to the roster, and I just couldn't do it at that point. Then midseason, Chargers waived Jerry Tillery, something that all Chargers fans have been wanting to do for a very long time now. Um, I don't think, yeah, it was a couple weeks before we played the Raiders. I want to say maybe 2-ish weeks, but slowly but surely, we started to see a little change in the defense. We were absolutely atrocious. We're still not that great of a defense over the last 8 or 9, really like 8 weeks maybe. We've had a better defense statistically. And then week 14, our defense did come alive against the Dolphins and against Tua. That is also when Justin Herbert just had a little bit more of a spice that game, a little bit more of an attitude. I'll touch on that later. That was kind of a turning point in terms of pushing towards the playoffs. And then week 18, it seems like it comes all crashing down. We're playing the Broncos in a completely meaningless game. We had locked up the 5 seed. This game meant absolutely nothing to us. We could have, like a smart team, still played the game, obviously, but used it as a bye week for your important players. Rest Justin, rest Keenan, rest Mike, rest Corey Linsley, maybe Trey Pipkins, rest Derwin, rest Joey, rest Khalil. Those are all experienced players who it's not like you're getting an entire week off of football. You're still practicing, you can still warm up with the team, but just use it as a bye week for your important players to rest up, not get injured in week 18 like Mike Williams, and go into the playoffs a little bit healthier. There's a reason that the number 1 team gets a bye week because that should be an advantage. We could have used week 18 as a bye week. Nope, Brand Staley wanted to keep the momentum, keep the culture going, keep all of our starters in for almost the entire game. Justin Herbert played almost the entire game. Could have gotten any sort of injury. He got popped a couple times, and this game meant nothing. Mike Williams, or Brand Staley, said that it was just a bone contusion, a bruise. I thought that it was back spasms at first. I've had them, can be pretty painful, tough to walk, and they can clear up by the next day though, so I thought hopefully that's just what it is and Mike's gonna be fine, but it was a contact injury, it looked like. So I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, comes out that it is a fracture in Mike Williams' back. He's not going to be here for 2 to 3 weeks, probably longer. Mike Williams' season is probably over. Mike Williams is the only reason that we have ever thrown the ball down the field this season. He stretches the field. He adds an explosive element to this offense that nobody else does, and he really was one of the most important players for this offense. I would say more important than Keenan Allen. Keenan, phenomenal receiver, but Josh Palmer's had a pretty decent season, and I feel like can be 85% of Keenan. Nobody can be 85% of Mike on this team. We no longer have a deep threat. Look forward to watching Austin Eckler catch 15 passes out of the backfield and for Justin Herbert's ADOT to be 3 yards this game. But moving on to the actual matchup tonight, I am still hopeful for the Chargers. I hope that we win. I'm still a fan. Fans want what is best for their team, what is best for this team. I hope that we win. I also hope that we fire Joe Lombardi and Brand Staley whenever our season is done. Matchups for this game, obviously, got to go with the Jags. Doug Peterson and his crew, even in week 3, it even looked like we were outcoached. Just we got decimated, and I mean, it's not even that hot of a take to say that the Jaguars coaching staff is better than the Chargers. Joe Lombardi, like my blood boils whenever they show him on TV. He is not a good offensive coordinator. He is very poor at his job and just needs a new offense and new scheme. And then Brand Staley, all the things I said before, I liked Brand Staley going into the season. I wanted him to be our guy, but he's just been too hypocritical, too wishy-washy. He says math and mindset for going forward on fourth downs, but even when every fan would say the math checks out and the mindset checks out, like we got some momentum, we're kind of moving the ball. At random times, he just wouldn't go for it in obvious situations, and he's just made some questionable decisions in that regard. And then handling injuries, he's just been absolutely piss poor in this year. QB, I gotta lean Justin Herbert over Trevor Lawrence. I still think that he is a tier above Trevor Lawrence. That shouldn't even be a hot take. Justin Herbert has almost every single record for a quarterback through his first 3 seasons. Trevor Lawrence, great quarterback, has improved a lot over the course of this year, but and maybe in a couple of years they might be in the same tier, but I'm still going to put Justin Herbert ahead of Trevor Lawrence. O-line, looking at the PFF data, the Jags and the Chargers are both 2 of the worst run blocking teams in the NFL. Chargers were last, and I think Jags were 30th. And then pass blocking, Jags were a good bit ahead of the Chargers. And if we would have had Rashawn the whole season, that would have been a different story. But we don't. We do still have, I would consider, an average to just an okay offensive line, I guess. But I have to give the Jags a slight edge here. Weapons and D-line, I also gave to the Jags. These are both much closer. And it really just comes down to missing Mike Williams. I mean, we have Keenan Allen, we have Josh Palmer, Donald Parham, Gerald Everett, Austin Eckler. But when DeAndre Carter is your wide receiver 3, or Michael Bandy, that's not a good sign. That's you have no depth, and I wouldn't even consider Keenan to be a wide receiver 1, which I'm going to touch on in a second. But Keenan's been a top 10 receiver for a long time, but I would have to give it to the team with a little bit better depth since we're missing Mike Williams. They got Marvin Jones, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne. That's just a little bit more well-rounded than what we currently have, but it's close. D-line, since we have Joey back, this one is really neck and neck, but looking at the PFF stats, I do have to give it to the Jags. They did have a couple more guys. Like, I forgot about Trayvon Walker, the number 1 overall pick. He's had an okay season, but they just have a little bit less injuries, and we have been pretty decimated up the middle of our interior defensive line. I mean, Morgan Fox has had a very good year. I love watching him play. Braden Fajoko's been pretty decent, but we've just lost so many. No, not nose tackles, D tackles. We still have Sebastian Joseph Day. We still have Joey and Khalil, which is absolutely huge. But, I mean, they have Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, Fatu Saki, technically Clavon Chason, and I think Arden Key as well. But I just, without knowing what this D-line can be, since it's just been not very cohesive throughout the year, I have to give the slight edge to the Jags. Secondary, easily the Chargers, in my opinion. Michael Davis he's been one of the best corners in the league, in my opinion, over the last 8 weeks or so. Been playing extremely physical, extremely smart as well, not getting too many flags. Asante Samuel breakout season since week 1, in my opinion. He's just been playing phenomenal. And then Bryce Callahan in the slot, huge pickup, playing very well, one of the best slot corners in the NFL. Sear Taylor behind him, and then Derwin, Nazir, Alohi in the safety positions, also having really all pretty good years, especially Derwin and Alohi, but secondary, I don't think it's very controversial to say, goes to the Chargers. 3 keys to a Chargers win. I want Justin Herbert to play with the attitude that he had against the Dolphins. When he got that game ball, came into the locker room and spiked it, Justin had a little bit more of a fire that game. Something he kind of just took over. That's one of the first times that I've seen, if the scheme wasn't working, was breaking down, things were breaking down around him, he found a way. He made a play consistently. And if he can take over a game like that and attack, have that fire like he did that game, we're going to be very hard to stop. Number 2, Keenan Allen plays like a wide receiver 1. I don't think that he really is a wide receiver 1 anymore, but if he can go retro, win on the outside, since DeAndre Carter and Michael Bandy really do need to be playing in the slot, and Keenan does cook in the slot, but if he can dominate on the outside, be a true wide receiver 1, get open at will to help take some of the load off Justin, give him some easy passes each game, that would be huge for us winning. And then I think the last video that I made before I stopped for a couple months, keys to the Chargers winning a Super Bowl, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack wreak havoc. It's the best edge rushing duo in the NFL. Very important position, can literally transform the entire game. Create turnovers, get them behind the chains, get in Trevor Lawrence's head, speed up his processing, possibly force some interceptions as well with hits, or him just having that clock speed up a little bit, knowing I got Khalil Mack coming on one side and Joey Bosa coming on the other. Somebody's probably going to have a one-on-one, and somebody's probably going to win that one-on-one. So that, in my opinion, is after Justin Herbert just taking over, because that is the most important position. I think Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, if we do win the Super Bowl, they might be the reason. If they can stay healthy, stay on the field, they can dominate and completely take over football games. I'm not going to get into anything to do with the off season as much as I want to. That's almost why I made this channel. Love team building, stuff like that, but I want the Chargers to win this football game. I'm not even going to talk hypotheticals. The Chargers are going to win this football game. Enjoy tonight, and I will see you guys in the next video.